Thank you so much for coming along today, and thanks for taking a few minutes to wait for the opening. We're delighted to have so many people here in the room, so a very warm welcome from SEUPB. First of all, just a little bit of housekeeping before we move forward. If there is a fire alarm, it's not a drill, and the lifts will shut down, so you need to go down the stairs, okay? And then the gathering point is in the car park, okay? So look, we're very welcome. We're delighted that you're here, and we have 26 approved projects in the room today, so you'll probably know more people than me, but delighted to have you here. So, as you know, we're here for PEACEPLUS. Peace and prosperity is the theme. I'm going to take you through what the lead partner training schedule is going to be. So before we move into the detail, I want to let you know why we're here and why we decided on this approach, okay? So today's session is going to be recorded, okay? Today's session will be followed by 3 webinars, and the webinars that we've chosen are based on the amount of questions that we've received to date and sort of like common topics. But that is not to say we can't add any more, we can't tweak them, make different topics. So be conscious as we go through the training that your feedback is welcome, and we do want it and we do welcome it, okay? The first 3 and probably the most chunkiest ones that we're going to do over the next coming months will be eligibility of expenditure, which is really important, procurement, so we get a lot of questions on this, and then the controller framework, which is different. So anybody who's managed previous projects, PEACEPLUS is slightly different. It's not that much different, but slightly different, and the controller framework is one part where it definitely is. So that's a really important one if you can attend those, and we'll also record them as well. Today's session is, it's a very high-level session, okay? So this is about all the governance that you'll need to know that you need to watch if you're looking after your project. So today's session is very high-level. All the slides we're not going into the detail of all the things that you need to know because there's so much of it. So hence, we won't be having a live FAQ. And I know there are some people have wanted that, but it's not possible today because we have to go through everything at a high level. So what we did was we asked for your questions in advance, and thank you everybody who sent them in. Anybody who asked questions in advance, that's been incorporated into the presentations. And we've also offered one-to-one sessions with everybody. They've also been taken up, and we've had a lot of questions for those as well. So what I would say is please ask your questions. You're going to see on the table some paper, and please write down any questions that you have. So if somebody's presenting and you've got a burning question, please write it down, because we're going to come back at the end of this, after these sessions, with a suite of FAQs, and your question is going to be helpful to somebody else. So we want to share all the answers with everybody, and we want to do it most efficiently as well. So that's why we want to gather the FAQs and get them out to you in a nice format, and it will be after these events, okay? We're just trialing this. The feedback that we had from previous years was some of the lead partner guidance was full day sessions with loads and loads of slides, and the feedback was that nobody really learnt a lot because it was near information overload. So hence this is the approach, okay, for this one. I just wanted to let you know that you're in safe hands, okay? So SEUPB, 25 years, and we've had many projects and looked after them. We've put through our hands 3.39 billion. That's been invested in all our previous programmes, and we've funded over 23,000 projects and touched the lives of more than 2 million citizens. So, you are safe. We might not have all the answers for you today. In fact, we definitely won't have all the answers, but we will get them for you. PEACEPLUS is new. We're excited to be here. We're excited to be moving forward with it. It's an exciting time in our history, and we celebrate 25 years of advancing peace, prosperity and growth. And so the new programme will also, we want you to know you're in safe hands. Okay? So, how we're going to deliver this today, we're going to deliver it in 2 parts so that we try to not sort of overload information, but it's all relevant. So every part of this is very important. And if you've managed your projects before, yeah, that's good. It doesn't do any harm to be reminded. So the first part, we'll come to the slides in a moment, will be a PEACEPLUS overview. Then we're going to go through the programme manual. We're going to touch on data protection, and then a slight touch-up on state aid and UK subsidy. We break for coffee at 10:50-ish. And then part 2 is going to be eligibility of expenditure, reporting and project expenditure and management verifications, monitoring and evaluation, and we'll do a recap and close. And so just to let you know who's in the room from SEUPB, I'm Georgie Maguire. I am the Senior Manager in the Managing Authority, and we're joined and presenting today by all of our colleagues in the Managing Authority, and they will introduce themselves as we go through. But we're also joined by our esteemed colleagues in Joint Secretariat as well, so you'll know them. So, but if you don't, just to let you know that, SEUPB is one of the 6 cross-border bodies, and we were established under the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. And we have the statutory remit for managing EU funding programmes. So that's why we're here. And those programmes are within Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland. So today we have our Managing Authority colleagues. Managing Authority is it's the title for the area that looks after regulatory requirements and the governance and support in all the areas of procedural guidance. We work very closely with our colleagues in Joint Secretariat. So they will be your case officers and those who work with you in relation to project assessment and support to the projects. But we do work very closely together. So your questions as they feed in generally feed back to us, and we look at them and see, is that, is the regulations and a little bit of the governance, and we'll cover some of that during the course of today. So we value all of this. We value your knowledge, and we know that we're all making a positive and lasting contribution to society and the world that we live in. And ultimately, that's, we're here to do good. So, PEACEPLUS. So you'll know this because you've had your projects approved, you've written your applications, you've been at the calls. So it is a programme area of Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland. Over 25 years, we've managed a number of European investment programmes, including Peace and Interreg. This building has availed of Interreg 3, so monies. So Peace, it's made an impact all over. As I said to you earlier, 23,000 projects, which touch the lives of more than 2 million citizens. But PEACEPLUS, we're really excited about. This programme will continue to provide vital support to Northern Ireland and the border counties with an investment of 1.14 billion, which is a huge amount of money, and the focus is to embed peace and promote prosperity across the region. So we've delivered this through a detailed process of collaboration with the Northern Ireland Executive, the Government of Ireland, the UK Government and the EU, and this programme will continue to contribute to a more peaceful and prosperous and stable society in Northern Ireland and the border region of Ireland. So the value of the programme, 1.144 billion, as I've said. The ERDF contribution of 80% has been matched by the UK and the Irish governments, which has meant the applicants can apply for 100% of the project value, which you know because you're here. So the programme will continue to take the opportunities to address the needs of peace. And if you're looking at future calls and future programmes, you can participate from outside the area, but it just needs to have a real impact to the programme or the project that you're delivering. It's a wide-ranging project, 6 themes and 22 investment areas, and we have 26 projects approved here today. The calls go from 1, 3, 6, 5. So there's a lot of different themes in the room today, and a lot of really, really powerful and impactful projects that have been approved. These are the themes. Okay, you know them. Just a little recap on those. I just wanted to mention as well that there are a few open calls at the moment. 2.1 is SME development and transition, and then Clean Air 6.1 is coming alive shortly as well. So where we're at, so we work behind the scenes, and we may not always have all the answers, but we're working really hard to get the programme up and running. So we've received almost 200 applications for funding, and those have been reviewed and assessed, over 120 applications, and that'll be the JS teams working on that actively. We've had 14 steering committees that will assess those, and we've had 42 projects approved by the steering committee. So we've 26 in this room, we're now up to 42. We will be delivering this training then to the next cohort, and we'll continue to roll that out over the duration and hopefully improve it and get better and better. So, 533 million is committed across all themes and within PEACEPLUS. So over the 22 investment areas, 11 have now received funding, which is pretty impressive. We're really happy with that. Just an update on the JS team. So now in the last mile of assessment, and the last 3 calls will launch before the end of the year. So now the majority of the team is into implementation stage, and this is where the real nitty-gritty gets involved, and hence the reason why we're here today. We'll be covering all the things you need to know at a high level. We're still developing processes to support and enable project success, so bear with us. We will get there. And that's kind of really just the overview to commence us. You've got some really good speakers here who have been here and will know everything they're talking to you about. So, as I say, please write your questions down, and we're not doing live FAQ. I can't stress that enough because we just don't have capacity. We want to get as much as we can covered today in this presentation, and we'll share these slides and all with you afterwards and the recording. So I'm going to pass over now to my colleague, Marianne de Bont, who is here. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you.
Thank you, Deirdre, and welcome everybody. It's so lovely to see so many of you here today. As Deirdre said, I'm Marianne de Bont. I am part of the team of the Managing Authority in SEUPB, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the programme manual and then also the roles and responsibilities of the lead partners. So the programme manual, hopefully most of you are familiar with it. It is really the A to Z of a PEACEPLUS project. It gives you the full life cycle of project management. It's a big chunky document, I know because I've read it, but there's real detailed sections full of information and some annexes as well. And it literally covers everything from when you apply right through to the end of the project, covering things like state aid, the controller framework, reporting and evaluation, and everything is in there. So we would really encourage you to use it, to read it, and to have it as a guide while you're going through your projects if there is anything that you're not sure about. I'm delighted to be able to tell you that version 8 is coming and it will be launched at the end of next week. So we will let you know when it's been released and make sure that you have a copy. We do update it from time to time. Normally we update it when there's regulatory changes. So it is your responsibility once you receive the manual to track where those changes have been made. We'll keep a log at the start of the document, which will tell you all of the changes that have occurred to make that version. So there is a guide there on what we have changed. But as I say, we do pass responsibility on to the projects to keep up to date with any changes and all of the information in the programme manual. You can find the programme manual on our website. It's under the Guidance for Funded Projects section. And it's also available through the PEACEPLUS support portal, which hopefully you all have access to. And you can also talk to your case officer if you do need them to send you a copy. So it's a really, really important part of the PEACEPLUS programme. We're hoping it will give you all of the guidance that you need. If you do need clarification on any of it, of course, talk to us. But it is a really good place to start if you have questions about different parts of the programme. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the roles and responsibilities are for the lead partners. I know that we have some very experienced lead partners in the room, and we have others that maybe this is the first time that they've undertaken a project with us. I won't go into massive amount of detail. I'm sure you don't want to listen to me talking up here all day long. But what I'll take you through, that information is available in the programme manual, and it's also available in the partnership agreement, which you will be issued. Both of those documents give you a full outline of the responsibilities of the lead partner. It's a big role. It has a lot of responsibility attached to it, but it's also hopefully a very rewarding role. But again, if there are any parts that you're not clear about, please use the question forms you have on your desk, or speak to us directly and we can answer any of your questions. So you'll see here that, as I said, the role of the lead partner is wide-ranging. It's detailed and it's technical, and it covers everything from project coordination, financial management, right through to the evaluation. So let's break that down a little bit, and let's have a look at what the actual role and responsibilities are. So I guess the most important one to remember is that the lead partner is responsible for the overall coordination, management and implementation of the project, including overall administrative and financial responsibilities. That's the real key to it. The lead partner is responsible for the project, for the entirety of the project. The lead partner is also responsible for ensuring timely commencement and implementation of the activities within the lifetime of the project, in compliance with the obligations of the managing authority. And the lead partner is responsible for letting JS or anybody in SEUPB know if there are any factors that might adversely affect the implementation of the project activities. So if there's any problems, anything has gone wrong, anything you're not sure about, you need to come and talk to us about that so that we are aware. You will sign the letter of offer when it's issued, and if necessary, you can request modifications of the latest approved version of the application form to the SEUPB. So the letter of offer will give you a review of your project plan, and if there are any changes to that, you can come to us and say we would like to amend a certain part of it, and SEUPB can go through that process with you. The lead partner will monitor the delivery of the latest approved version of the application form, and they will take responsibility for the project partners in their implementation and their project budget as well. The lead partner will act as a contact point for SEUPB and any other programme bodies. The lead partner will be responsible for providing any relevant project documents to the rest of the team, and will also update the project partners of any communication that they have had with SEUPB. The lead partner will prepare and submit all of the project reports, including supporting documents and additional documents and/or information requested by SEUPB. And they will constantly monitor the spending of the project budget for each project partner. And if there is any deviation from that, that they will consult the programme manual to know how to deal with that going forward. The lead partner will ensure that expenditure that's presented by the project partners has been accrued for the purpose of implementing the project and corresponds to the activities that the partners have undertaken, and that will all be backed up by the latest application form. This is a really important point. I think this is something that's slightly different to PEACEPLUS. The project partner will appoint the controller who will perform all of the management verifications, and the lead partner will actually enter into a contract with the controller and is responsible for any work that the controller undertakes as part of the project. The lead partner will verify that the expenditure presented by the project partners is validated, again according to the rules set out in the programme manual. They will receive any funding that is sent by SEUPB for the entire project and make sure that it is transferred to the other partners as soon as possible. The lead partner must comply with publicity rules as well as communication requirements outlined in the project manual and provide any material developed in the lifetime of the project. The lead partner shall ensure it has the right to use any pre-existing intellectual property rights, if necessary, for the implementation of the project. They will also take all necessary measures in order to avoid conflicts of interest and keep each other informed without delay on any circumstances that have generated or may generate such conflict. The lead partner and the project partners are obliged to inform SEUPB if there's any sensitive or confidential, sorry, I didn't change the slide there, if there are any sensitive or confidential information related to the project that may not be published or made publicly available. And the final one, without prejudice to the lead partner's roles and responsibility, the lead partner will set up a project steering committee, which will be chaired by them as well. So that's a brief summary of the responsibilities of the lead partners. As I say, it is all detailed in the programme manual and also in the partnership agreement, but anything you're not sure about, please come and talk to us. I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague Claire Finlay, who's going to talk to you about data protection.
Thanks, Marianne. I'm Claire Finlay. I'm one of the information managers at SEUPB, along with my colleague Laura McKnight. I just wanted to spend a few moments this morning, and it will literally be a few minutes because I know data protection isn't the most riveting of subjects. I just wanted to highlight a number of points with regards to your responsibilities as lead partner when it comes to data protection. Sorry. There we are. I wanted actually to draw your attention also to the programme manual. In Chapter 2 of the programme manual, data processing and data protection is covered there. So I would really strongly recommend that you read and digest that information. As the lead partner of a PEACEPLUS project, your organisation is classified as a data controller under GDPR. SEUPB would also be classed as a data controller. You may be aware that it is good practice to have a DSA in place when controllers share data with each other. So our relationship would be a data controller to data controller, and we therefore share information under that relationship. You will note a DSA is included as part of the conditions within your letter of offer. This DSA stipulates the measures your organisation is required to take to protect the data that you process for this project. So the SEUPB requires your organisation to adhere to the principles outlined in the DSA at all times. If you do have any questions relating to the DSA, we would advise initially to get your own legal advice or to contact your legal counsel. You can also channel any subsequent inquiries through your case officer to the information management team at SEUPB. I will now pass on over to Deirdre.
So that's a really important topic, data. It comes up a lot and we take it very seriously in SEUPB. We have had a lot of questions recently and are working through them, so bear with us if you have questions on data, how to gather them, how to get to monitor and evaluate. Bear with us, ask them, we have them, we're listening to you, and we take it very, very seriously. I just wanted to introduce you to another really brilliant subject which everybody loves, and that's state aid. So I know you've had your projects assessed and potentially you might say we don't have it, it's not in ours, so we don't need to worry. But what I would say is the life cycle of your project is a long one, and you could make a change during that cycle, and potentially then you might have state aid or UK subsidy. Okay, so whenever you're I suppose creating your risk registers or having your board meetings or reviewing your project plans, just keep an eye on that. If you haven't any initially, it doesn't do any harm to revisit it. So I just put this flow chart up, and it's very useful. I know it looks like a lot, but basically for state aid, there's a number of things that you need to look at, given that we've got the UK and then we've got the EU rules. So you have state aid rules and you also have UK subsidy rules. This flowchart literally takes you through step by step what you need to ask yourself or your project. And really the crux of the matter is there economic benefit in your project? Is anybody or anything within it making any money out of this? And is there potential to distort any trade or any businesses where your project is? That is simply what it is. And then the other bits are the paperwork that's involved in reporting it. So just be mindful of that. We will share the link to this. And, you know, there is a Department for the Economy has a dedicated help desk. But if you're worried about it and you see something within your project, just mention it to your case officer. It will be your responsibility to make sure that you report it in. And again, we'll have assessed it and done our best to try and make sure that we've supported you in the evaluation. But there's a lot of work if you do find there is state aid in terms of getting schemes registered, and we can help you and support you with that. And then all you would need to do after that is monitor the spend. So don't be afraid, just be mindful of it. And if you have any questions, send them in to us, write them down, we'll come back to you. Okay? You see on the tables there, the most latest brochure that we have is Weaving a Lattice of Peace. I know some people here have worked hard on that one, so they're in the room. But it was presented in Brussels, so Gina, our CEO, presented this in Brussels. And it's a story of the impact of the programmes, and it's just a really powerful booklet. There is a digital version of it, and there is one on the tables. We already see people in the room who are in it, so you might be in it yourselves. But there is a lovely video, and I wanted to show that to you just before the coffee break. So we're going to play that, and hopefully you enjoy it. Okay, so the next section then is probably, it's going to be what you're really interested in. So we're going to be covering some of the controller framework and cost management and all the really good stuff. So again, same format as earlier. First section will be eligibility of expenditure. So obviously really crucial that this one here is really important. And again, just jot down your questions. I don't see that many, but please do. Reporting of project expenditure and management verifications, and then monitoring and evaluation, and then we'll do a recap and close. Lunch is going to be at 1:45. Okay? So I'm going to introduce my colleague then, Emma Fallis. Want to hit Emma?
Hello, my name's Emma Fallis. I'm the Eligibility Manager, and I'm going to talk to you today about eligibility of expenditure, so to give you an overview of that. And when we talk about eligibility of expenditure, what we're referring to is actually the costs that you incur during the implementation of an EU project. One of the things you have to bear in mind then, all expenditure must comply with rules, and there's 3 different levels of rules which are known as the hierarchy of rules. So that's the EU regulations, which we have to abide by, so there's different regulation in relation to that. Then underneath that then is the programme rules, so that's contained within the programme manual, which Marianne referred to earlier on this morning, and also the call document that you would have used for your investment area. It would have particular rules pertaining to that. And then at the lower level then we have then the national rules. So the thing that we have to bear in mind is the most strictest rules apply. So whichever is the most stricted, we have to make sure we adhere to those. Also as well, as an organisation, we want partners to implement projects that are reimbursed, that they get reimbursed for all their costs. But we only can do that if you comply with the eligibility rules. So one of the things that I suppose what we want projects to bear in mind is the consequences of not abiding by these eligibility rules, because that will result in expenditure being either deemed ineligible or penalties having to be applied. So there's a number then of general principles. So every item of expenditure must comply with these 3 levels of rules: the EU rules, the programme rules, and the national rules. We also then must ensure then that from your perspective that there's a clear link between the activities that you're undertaking and the project. So are the activities you're delivering essential for effective delivery of project activities? And is there a fit then with the budget that you've been approved for and the cost categories approved for your project? Because each project will have a predefined activities that you would have included in your application form which have been approved. So something that might be eligible for one project isn't eligible for another because of the fit and because of the scope of the project that you've been approved for. The other thing that you have to make sure that then you have an audit trail then to support the expenditure, making sure that the documentation then is identifiable, verifiable, so that there's backup then to what you're incurring. So for example, an audit trail for staff costs is a contract of employment, task assignment letter, payroll and defrayment. If you're in relation to goods and services, you would have an invoice, evidence of the delivery and defrayment as well. And the defrayment has to come from a project bank account or a cost centre report. So that's one of the things you need to ensure, that actually costs are incurred and that you actually can evidence those. Another area that you need to be mindful of is public procurement. And there's, I will look at the thresholds in relation to that, but it is one of the things that can catch projects out, and there is recognised penalties that the Commission have laid down have to be applied when there's non-adherence. And also as well is that there's no double financing. So that in relation to either other sources of funding that you've received for the same activities, or in respect of now, because we've introduced more simplified cost options in the PEACEPLUS programme, making sure that costs either haven't been covered by a flat rate and you're also claiming them on a real cost basis. The EU regulations also confirm that there's a number of ineligible items that can't be reimbursed for grant assistance. So the type of things are interest on debt, there's limits on the value of purchase of lands. It can't exceed 10% of the operation. There's other areas like VAT. That's a change actually in the regulation this time round. For operations that are less than 5 million euros, they're able to reclaim VAT from ourselves, but if your operation is greater than 5 million euros, you only can reclaim the VAT if you aren't able to reclaim it from another revenue source. Areas that like fines, penalties, expenditure relating to legal disputes and litigation, those also aren't eligible for grant assistance. change from the previous programme as well is that cost of gifts now are ineligible. There used to be there was a threshold that you could have allowed, but that now isn't something that the regulation has made it very clear that gifts aren't something that can be assisted with the programme. Costs in relation then to fluctuation of foreign exchange rates also can't be considered eligible. And I suppose that's something to bear in mind, the fact that a lot of projects will be incurring costs in sterling and having to then reclaim them in euro through GEMS when you're putting your claim onto the system. So anything in relation to that, currency exchange rates, that can't be claimed or can't be deemed as an eligible cost. You also then, just to reiterate the point, that you can't engage with a project partner to deliver some goods and services. So you have to ensure that if a partner, for example, has room hire and is able, maybe they do have hire, you can't use them to run a conference, because you're just not allowed to engage or trade with partners. The partner has to either incur the cost directly themselves or be incurring it from somebody or a supplier outside the partnership. And also a thing to bear in mind that activities must be completed and payments made before your project end date. And that also we'll touch on about the controller costs, but you also need to ensure that you've paid for the cost of your controller before your project end date as well, for that to be able to include it in your final claim. So there's actually two types of costs that you'll be incurring: real costs and simplified costs. So the real costs that you'll be incurring are staff costs, external expertise and services, equipment and infrastructure and works. And then the simplified cost options then that we have. So the Commission this time have introduced and encouraged programmes to introduce more simplified cost options. And the type of cost options are either flat rates, which every project will have, some will have unit costs, and some will have lump sums. So this is the thing that again want to reiterate, is that anything that is covered by one of those simplified cost options should not be presented in a claim. So you just need to, because that then could be regarded then as double financing. So staff costs is one of the a cost category that every project will have. So the thing that you need to bear in mind is that staff costs must satisfy two conditions. There needs to be a legal link between the project partner and the employee, and there also then needs to be a transfer of monies. So they are the two things that you need to be mindful of whenever you're thinking of claiming costs in relation to that cost category. Fact sheet 1 in the programme manual also gives you more detail on what specifics in relation to staff costs. The audit trail, as I said before, in relation to that is the contract employment, the task assignment letter, and that sets out the percentage of time that the individual is working on the project. So even if you're 100%, it will say that you're 100% working on the project, and it'll outline the duties that you're undertaking. If you're working on a part-time basis, it will then say you're working 10%, 50%, or whatever it is. And one other simplification now is that there's no longer a requirement to retain timesheets. So what you will be able to then be claiming is the percentages outlined in your task assignment letter. And we also then need to see evidence then of defrayment. And for staff costs, remember that's all the costs that you're claiming. So that's the net salary, the revenue costs, and pension costs. Then in relation to the next cost category is office and admin. So that's covering your indirect costs. And fact sheet 2 of the programme manual gives you further detail on that. But the majority of projects fall into the category of where they receive a 15% overhead flat rate for their direct staff costs. The only exception to that is Investment Area 3.2, who receive a 40% flat rate for their staff costs, and that's to cover all of their direct costs. And that means that those projects only will have two cost categories. They have a staff cost and they have their office and admin flat rate. So that's the thing, you need to make sure then that you're only claiming eligible staff costs, and if there's any staff costs that are found to be ineligible, your overhead flat rate then is adjusted then accordingly. Another simplification now in the PEACEPLUS programme has been the introduction of a flat rate for the travel and accommodation, and this again is included in fact sheet 3 of the programme manual. So it means that it's a flat rate calculated based on direct staff costs, and with the exception of Investment Area 3.2 and 4.3, all projects will be able to receive a 7% flat rate of their direct staff costs to cover travel and accommodation. For investment area 4.3, they are able to receive a flat rate of 4.5% of their direct staff costs. And as I said, in relation to investment area 3.2, they don't actually have a travel and accommodation flat rate, or because they have their larger overhead flat rate for their office and admin. And again, to reiterate the point, the costs that are covered by your office and admin flat rate and your travel flat rate should not appear in any other cost category, because that will be deemed as double funding. The next cost category I'm going to talk about is external expertise and services. So this is in relation to the external services and expertise that you might engage with another external body or a person outside of your organisation. So the types of costs that the regulations allow are studies, training, translation, promotion and communication, financial management, services related to events and meetings, registration fees, consultancy and audit trails. But you will know what your project is focused towards. And but the thing that you need to be mindful of is that it's the payments to an external supplier outside of your partnership will be coming under the external expertise and services budget. And again, they need to clearly link to what the project that you're delivering. And if I hadn't said it, external expertise and services is included then in fact sheet 4 of the programme manual. Equipment, it's covered in fact sheet 5 of the programme manual, and it's in relation to costs of equipment purchased, rented, leased by the project partner. One thing also to bear in mind is that when you only should be able to claim for equipment that is necessary in the delivery of your project. If, we regard for the programme an asset as anything with an economic life of more than 1 year or costing more than £1,000 or €1,000. So if your item of equipment that you're proposing to purchase has a greater economic life than the duration of your project, you should only be claiming the depreciation costs. Infrastructure and works then relates to then sort of purchase of land, building permits, building materials, labour costs. And so it's then the category, I suppose, that if you have an infrastructure and works cost category, you'll need to be very mindful of procurement because and the added complexities that come with that. I'm just going to sort of touch on now just the procurement thresholds and just to remind everybody in relation to those. So for anything less than £200, you don't have to actually provide any quotes for that. But one of the things you need to bear in mind is it's the total value of delivering activity. We have to be very careful that there's no disaggregation of pieces of work to maybe bring things below different thresholds. So then between £200 or €200 and 5,000, either pounds or euro, you need to have a price check from at least 2 competent suppliers. And what we mean by a competent supplier is somebody who ordinarily provides those goods and services. You can't ask somebody who, if you're doing a gardening project, somebody that bakes cakes to come and provide a quote. We need to make sure that they are competent. They normally do that, and it's reasonable to have to ask them. So you need to ensure you have asked at least 3 people. What I would say is that if you know that, for example, there is 5 suppliers or 6 suppliers or 10 suppliers in a certain area, ask them all, because you want to ensure that you actually do get a return on your response rate, and also as well you want to ensure value for money for yourselves. The better value for money you get, it means that you have more money in your budget to be able to do other things, so that fit within your approved project. So it's in your best interest to ask as many as possible, because if you only limit it to 3 people asking for quotes, you could either get a nil response rate or only 1 response, which makes it then very difficult then to know if you've received value for money. So I would always suggest don't just asking the minimum that it says you have to do is 3. Ask for, if you know that there is 10, 20 people that deliver that service, ask them all. If you're sending out an email, it's easy to include a couple of other people onto that. Then full tender action then is required for 30,000 and up to the EU threshold. So what we mean by full tender action is that using national websites or the regional press. And if your project is implemented on a cross-border basis, you need to ensure that then you actually advertise in the jurisdictions that your project is operating in. The national websites that we allow you to use would be the eTenders NI or eSourcing NI, and then in Ireland it's the etenders.ie. So you need to ensure that you do advertise appropriately, and that you acknowledge then the funding in respect of that as well. Another thing to note is that public sector in Ireland, they must actually advertise supplies and services over 50,000 and works over 200,000 euro on eTenders.ie. That's again to comply with the national rules. And again, that's an example of how we have to make sure that if there's a national rule in place that we are bringing it into the programme. And also in relation to the public sector in Ireland, that there's a requirement that all contracts that exceed 25,000 euros, their award of those are also recorded on eTenders.ie. And this detail is contained within the programme manual. I've included then there the EU thresholds. So depending on which sector you fall within, there's different thresholds, either for supplies and services and then for works. The figures quoted there are all excluding VAT, and it's for values above those that means that you must advertise on the official journal of the European Union. One of the things to be mindful of as well is that since Brexit and the changes in relation to that, we have to ensure that projects, I know that within Northern Ireland there's a requirement to advertise contracts and find a tender service. The Commission already have ruled that that is not a substitute to using the OG. So the official journal of the European Union has to be used. If it is your organisational requirement that you advertise a tender and find a tender service, that's fine, you can proceed to do that, but you also must advertise the contract on the official journal as well. So that's one of the things that just we need to make sure then that is very clear, because if you don't, penalties will be applied. Another thing of note as well is that the tender thresholds have all been expressed in euro, and that's now a change that will be coming out in the programme manual that will be released at the end of the month. If you're a contracting authority and you're based in Northern Ireland and you're looking at a sterling contract, what we advise is you convert the sterling value to a euro amount using the Commission monthly exchange rate. Further guidance on that will be included in the programme manual, but it's just to ensure adherence to those thresholds. Okay, that's me now, Deirdre. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's really interesting and a lot to take in, so particularly all the rules, but really important. We are going to introduce then Emma Shields, who will take you on more very important information.
Hi everyone, so I'm Emma Shields and I've been in contact with some of the projects to date in my senior finance role, progressing your advances, but today I'm here in my managing authority role to speak about reporting and project expenditure. So each partner within a project will enter the details of their project expenditure into separate partner reports on GEMS. Now there is a step-by-step guide for projects on how to enter the partner reports, and if you haven't received that, you will be receiving it shortly. There's specific instructions in here within this guide the partners must adhere to. And control work will commence at the point when all partners have submitted partner report for the relevant period and quarter on GEMS. So the 21 to 27 period of funding has introduced a simplification. Management verifications will be risk-based, which means there's not 100% checks required. There's going to be a focus on high-risk areas in project expenditures to improve efficiency and reduce unnecessary administration burden. Risk-based sampling methodology has been developed for PEACEPLUS, and that's what we're going to use. Controllers will apply this methodology to all expenditure items within the reports for any specific quarter, and a list of expenditure will be generated, and this will be fully verified and identified. The controller will carry out the management verification. They will verify the legality and regularity of the expenditure items selected for full verification. They will verify compliance with the programme manual, and they will verify that expenditure items are supported by a complete documented audit trail. Controllers will complete the management verification within required timelines. So the timelines are as follows. There's a 12-week period available for project partners to submit their partner reports and for the controller to complete the management verification. If I take, for example, a period from the 1st of January 25 until the 31st of March 25, the project partners submit their reports as soon as all expenditure has left the bank. The controller will then apply risk-based sampling methodology and carry out the management verification on the expenditure selected for full verification. The controller concludes the control work and certifies the partner reports, and all of this must be completed in this instance by the 20th of June 2025. By the project and the controller working together, efficiencies can be achieved. So who is the controller in PEACEPLUS? Controllers will be appointed from procured framework agreements. So Northern Ireland lead partners and Ireland-based lead partners from the community and voluntary sector will use the PEACEPLUS framework agreement, which is a multi-supplier agreement. Ireland-based lead partners within the public sector will use the OGP framework agreement, which again is a multi-supplier agreement. Controllers must be external to the project and be independent. So the timeline for the framework agreement is as follows. The advertisement has been placed on the 16th of October 2024. The closing date for return of tenders is 18th of November 2024. The evaluation process is scheduled to conclude on the 6th of December, and letters of intent, regret letters and standstill period should be delivered approximately by the 20th of December 24. This means we anticipate the framework agreement will be ready for call-off mid-January 25. As regards the OGP framework agreement, the mini competition is due to commence on the 4th of November 2024. The closing date for return of tenders will be approximately 28 days post-invitation to tender. There will then be an evaluation process, and there will be correspondence again with successful and unsuccessful applicants. How you propose the controller to SEUPB, the following steps should be used. The lead partner should select a controller via the framework network. The lead partner submits a proposal to appoint controller to SEUPB. SEUPB will consider the proposal and issue an instruction to the lead partner to appoint controller. Lead partner and the controller will enter into a formal contract. The quality assurance section of AMA will assist lead partners throughout this entire process. Okay? I know you're all going to have a lot of queries on that, so please jot them down. We'll do our best to answer them later on. And in the interim, I'm going to introduce you to Ciara, who's going to speak about monitoring and evaluation.
Thanks, Emma. My name is Ciara Kane, and I am the Monitoring, Evaluation and Research Manager for the SEUPB. So I'm going to provide an overview of the monitoring and evaluation considerations for PEACEPLUS. So this will consider what monitoring data and evaluation data needs to be collected, how will the monitoring and evaluation data be collected, and why we need to collect monitoring and evaluation data. So there are 26 projects in this room spanning across 8 investment areas, so this presentation is not project specific. So in terms of what monitoring data needs to be collected, so we monitor, report and review the programme's performance and achievements to the Commission through a set of output and result indicators within the performance framework. So output indicators are the specific product of the programme's activity that is obtained in exchange for public expenditure. So the outputs are directly related to the activities carried out in the project and contribute to achieving the project's objectives. So we monitor and report to the Commission on the total number of outputs achieved. The outputs to report that are relevant to your project are found in the call document, your application form and your letter of offer. So examples of outputs to be reported relevant to some of the projects here include 17 co-designed PEACEPLUS action plans implemented, 9,700 participations in joint training schemes, 1 strategy and action plan jointly developed, and 15,000 participations in interventions in support of victims survivors. So result indicators, they are the immediate benefits of the programme for the direct beneficiaries, the population targeted or infrastructure users. They are also the proxy measure by which the project objective has been achieved. Monitor and result indicators allows for observing direct outcomes during implementation, not only at the end of the implementation period. So we monitor and report to the Commission on the total number of results achieved. Again, the results relevant to report are found in the call document, in your application form and your letter of offer. So some examples, again, relevant to the projects here include 110,000 people from different communities engaged jointly in the implementation of the PEACEPLUS action plans, 7,500 completions in joint training schemes, 1 joint strategy and action plan taken up by organisations, and 20,000 beneficiaries of jointly developed and delivered interventions. So it's important to note that there's been difference in approach since the last programming period. So in 2014 to 2020, not all the indicators, so in other words the results, were part of the performance framework, but now they are. So as such, we need to report all indicators, milestones and targets to the Commission that can be audited and corrective measures taken if not achieved. This means projects must report the outputs and results within the scope of the selected indicators as outlined in your application form. So we will monitor data relevant to each project's output and result achievement as detailed in the application form and your letter of offer. So these are in adherence to the specific wording and criteria as outlined in the call document. So for example, where relevant, projects are responsible for reporting monitoring data to the SEUPB, including the total number of outputs and results achieved, participant target groups and community background, including religious belief, ethnic racial background, gender and other categories as outlined in the call document and as detailed in your application form. Projects should also monitor to ensure there's no double counting where relevant. And if you have any specific queries on your output or result indicators, please contact your case officer. So in terms of how to report monitoring data, so projects are responsible for providing monitoring data to the SEUPB. So tools available for this include partner reports. So depending on the investment area, these are every 3 months and dependent on the project start date. So each project partner and lead partner will compile and submit a partner report via GEMS. Again, depending on the investment area, so for example, investment area 1.1, there may be instances when the delivery partners do not have access rights to GEMS, and the lead partner will need to collate project delivery partners updates offline and add these to partner project reports on their behalf. The activity part of the project partner report contains details of the activities carried out in the respective period, as well as target groups, deliverables and outputs, and also problems encountered or any deviations. So any supporting documents should be uploaded to the relevant sections in GEMS. And the activity section of the partner report is a project management tool for the lead partner, and its use is compulsory. So it's recommended that partners build their partner report through the reporting period and do not wait to the end of the programming period to compile it. So a project report, so a joint project report. So again, depending on the investment area, this should be every 3 months, depending on the project start date. Lead partners will collect and consolidate project information from all partners so that it can be reported to JS at the project level. So the PEACEPLUS programme has separated activity and finance reporting at project level to reimburse funds as soon as possible. The achievement of output and result indicators must be compiled and reported in GEMS in the project reports. This is the responsibility of the lead partner. The JS will verify the reported achievement of output and results indicators, so the lead partner must ensure it complies with providing evidence of the achievement. So further information and partner project reporting is available in section 5.2 of the programme manual. So partner and project reporting templates are available within GEMS. They're currently being tweaked and finalised and will be available soon. We will also provide a walkthrough document for these, similar to the guide for applications. It's also important to note that this time output and results should only be reported when they're fully completed and verified by JS. This approach prevents the double counting and ensures that only those that are completed and verified are recorded within GEMS. So lead partners should continuously report achievement of unverified output and results within their activities and deliverables. If the output and result indicators are not fully achieved, lead partners are advised to inform their JS case officer of progress. So then the SEUPB will take the verified data from GEMS and report it to the Commission. For output and results only, this will be twice a year. So the verification process of output and results is currently under development. Sampling decisions and sampling sizes will be made when populations are known, and the resource impact will be considered for all in terms of the verification process. So examples of how to evidence achievement of output and results. So again, projects within here and across the whole PEACEPLUS programme, they vary so widely, even within the same investment area. Projects should hold records to verify outputs and results as outlined in your application form. Evidence that an event activity took place will be for the lead partner to agree with SEUPB before the event occurs, and a flexible approach will be taken, allowing the lead partner to propose evidence that best reflects the activity, the event, or participants. So examples of how to evidence output and results, if applicable, could include participant registration records to show how many participating, and also in terms of your registration process, the people targeted, each course workshop attended, also in terms, it could be the hours of attendance per participant, and we do not stipulate how they should be presented. However, the evidence must demonstrate that the contact hours have been counted and ensuring there's no duplication. So partners also must record the gender, religion, community background, and the ethnic racial group of the participants of each activity and any other category as outlined per call document and within your application form. This should include the overall totals and breakdown totals of each community background. This will be recorded against the targets outlined within your application form. So a final draft participant equality monitoring template provides some guidance on how to ask equality-related questions where relevant to your investment area, and this is within the programme manual. So proxy measures may also be necessary. So we recognise that communities are more diverse. So if a project can demonstrate that despite significant effort, they could not evidence cross-community participation, for example, in terms of religious belief, the SEUPB will be open to considering other forms of evidence submitted by the project to demonstrate cross-community engagement. So examples could include data in terms of nationality, identity, political opinion, school attended, the locality of your home, community background of the place they grew up, local area knowledge, membership of sports, youth or special interest clubs or societies, the diversity of organisations within project steering groups, the location of premises for shared activity, or something else local to your project area. So why then? Why is monitoring the output and results data important? So monitoring and reporting are essential project management tasks in which all partners need to be involved. So it measures what happens, it monitors project and programme progress, it communicates progress towards achievement of the output and results, at evidence reach, it provides transparency and accountability, and it complies with the regulatory requirements. So in terms of evaluation, so whilst we can look at monitor and evaluation separately, the two are interlinked. So firstly, what data needs to be collected for evaluation? So in line with the regulatory requirements, there are two types of evaluations. So an implementation evaluation will assess the efficiency and effectiveness of mechanisms for delivering the PEACEPLUS programme to improve the ongoing implementation. So for example, within the implementation evaluation, it will consider project application and assessment processes, monitoring of output and results, management verification, financial performance, management control and audit, GEMS, and evaluations and communications. So in terms of impact evaluations, these will assess the changes achieved by PEACEPLUS regarding each of the programme's objectives and the factors that influence the achievement. The PEACEPLUS evaluations will also relate to criteria such as efficiency, effectiveness, relevance, coherence, added value, and sustainability. And it also covers the horizontal principles. So in terms of planned evaluations, so we have one planned implementation evaluation, and we have 12 planned impact evaluations. So these will cover all themes and all investment areas of the PEACEPLUS programmes. And evaluations of most relevant to the projects here today include Impact Evaluation 1, so that's the PEACEPLUS action plans. So it will cover all the investment area 1.1 co-designed community peace action plans, so just as one evaluation. Impact Evaluation 2, Peace, will cover investment areas 1.3, Building Positive Relations, and investment area 4.3, Victims and Survivors. Impact Evaluation 7, Children and Young People, will cover investment areas 3.1, the Shared Learning Together Education Programme, and 3.2, the PEACEPLUS Youth Programme. Impact Evaluation 8 will cover investment areas 3.3, Youth Mental Health and Wellbeing, and 4.1, Collaborative Health and Social Care. Impact Evaluation 10, geothermal, will cover investment area 5.5, the geothermal energy demonstration project. Impact Evaluation 11, transport, will cover investment area 5.6, the enhanced sustainable transport connectivity. Impact Evaluation 12, strategic planning, will cover investment areas 6.1, so strategic planning and engagement, and 6.2, maintaining and forging relations between citizens. So how will we collect evaluation data? So we will evaluate the PEACEPLUS programme through the commissioning of independent external evaluators. So all business cases for the evaluations have been submitted, except for investment area 5.6, transport. This will be submitted later, as impact will be towards the end of the programme life cycle, and progress can be monitored through partner and project reports. So we're currently awaiting the final business case approval and are developing the tender specifications for the evaluations that will go out in batches. And again, these will be prioritised as well in terms of the opening of calls, project implementation as well. So based on the lessons learned from the previous programme period, deliverables under the evaluation contracts will include a framework reporting phase, 2 to 3 evaluation reports, and they will be published when they're likely to produce the most valuable kind of findings as well in terms of implementation and the project progress towards achievement. It will identify and address data gaps, and it will evidence the short-term outcomes and impacts and capture the lessons learned, including for the rest of the programming period. There will also be learning workshops and conferences, and these will help promote the project's results, publicise evaluation findings, disseminate lessons learned throughout the evaluation, and also provide opportunities for networking and collaboration. So in terms of evaluation-specific questions, so I guess within that first, the framework reporting phase, the evaluator will consider the theory of change. They will develop evaluation-specific questions, identify methods of data collection, gather the contextual data, and where possible in terms of baseline data. So these are in addition to the output and result indicators as part of the monitoring through the performance framework. So as the evaluators are not yet contracted, and in an effort to obtain evaluation-specific data, we have attempted to develop some draft evaluation-specific questions intended to be asked via a survey. So we've looked, examples of ways we looked at post surveys only, post then pre. So we've had a number of ways of trying to look the best way without the evaluator being in place as well. And thanks as well to some advice from projects within the room in terms of easy reading and different areas as well to help in terms of drafting something. So when the evaluators are in place, they will help review the questions and may edit or develop these depending on the investment area. And really the questions were intended to be inputted and collected via a monitor and evaluation digital tool that would also be GDPR compliant. We have not been able to go out to tender for this digital tool yet and are in consultation with CPD in this. So we are currently considering options for an interim process of collecting this evaluation-specific data in the most compliant way and are currently seeking expert legal advice. So once we have an improved interim process, we will contact lead partners. In the meantime, please continue to collect the intended monitoring and evaluation data as outlined in your application form. Please note that projects will not be required to retrospectively collect evaluation-specific data for the surveys. So if there are any changes to any questions that we ask for, it will be from a specific time frame. So the data provided would enable projects in the SEUPB to understand the outcomes and impact, including the difference the projects are making. It will also provide a consistency to questions asked within the themes and investment areas across the programme. The evaluators can use this quantitative data and also follow up qualitatively to gather richer insights into the impact. So this could potentially also reduce requests from evaluators and the SEUPB from the lead partners as well. And we'll see themes and things starting to emerge as well that can focus in case studies and focus groups and interviews as we go along. So we have done the best we can within the timeframe and resources that have been available to us. It's important to bear in mind what we are hopefully in an advanced position as much as we can in this programme life cycle than what we were in previous programme periods at this point. So in terms of input required from lead partners or delivery partners, so the evaluations will be longitudinal and will require excellent working relationship between all parties. As many of you know, projects are responsible for contributing to and facilitating the PEACEPLUS programme evaluations and have built capacity for it as part of your application. And this includes monitoring evaluation and officers as well there to help in the collection of that. So specific actions and input from you as project partners may involve active engagement with programme evaluators, facilitating access to other stakeholders, data collection, data reporting, and communication and visibility actions. So again, if project partners have their own internal indicators and achievement objectives for projects as part of your own performance management systems, if you could inform SEUPB and maybe look at a way of providing some kind of an anonymous kind of data as well in terms of what you're collecting. But again, we can come to that later, but it's just keeping your case officer involved in what is being collected. So in terms of why do we need to collect evaluation data? So PEACEPLUS is a significant investment requiring evaluation at critical stages to ensure it has the greatest impact in the region. Evaluations help us understand why things happened. It assesses changes attributable to the programme interventions, the intended, the unintended, and how big these changes are. It informs proposed adjustments to improve the investment areas in the programme. It aids decision making about future programming. It ensures accountability, and it fulfills the regulatory requirements. So just there was some tips, I guess, is please continue collecting the intended monitoring and evaluation data outlined in your application form. Projects are responsible for reporting, monitoring data and contributing to and facilitating programme evaluations. And again, that's just, as I said, the role of the kind of monitoring and evaluation officer as well within your application. So it's recommended that project partners build a partner report throughout the reporting period and do not wait until the end of the reporting period to compile it. So sorry, just a recap and some tips for it as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ciara and Emma. So this is just an opportunity before we close to just a slight recap. I think there was a lot of information in this afternoon's session, and it's real detail stuff. So I'm going to go back a few slides. We'll just flick through them, just so you know the presentation will be shared and it is recorded as well. But this is an opportunity for you to write your questions down, and because if you don't have them, you know, it wouldn't do any. So let's go back. So I'm not going to read all these slides again, but what I will do is flick through them so you can do a slight recap and maybe trigger some questions that you might have. Particularly ineligible items of expenditure, always very important. And I think the costs is really key and crucial, so I did a really good presentation of those. And the cost categories. Again, another useful table here which will be circulated out, but procurement is a hot topic, and you can get caught out really badly with procurement, so it's worth taking time to check and double check that you've fulfilled all your obligations. It's really important, particularly where you advertise all your due diligence. And it would be worth saying as well, during the life cycle of your project, if people change roles, so if somebody's changing or, you know, roles and responsibilities, always remember to include new people and update them on anything they need to be aware of. And these are your management verifications. We do have a couple of one-to-one sessions from a few of you in respect of specifics, some of it around the OGP framework, but again, please submit your questions. You'll see the timeline, so we are working on it, and there will be a webinar that will synchronise with the timelines. And we expect to have that webinar ready for you early January, and that will give you time, you know, it'll be a full session dedicated to the framework as well, and there will be training, guidance and manuals and things supported for your support as well. Una, who's not just here yet, is actually working on those at the minute. Okay. And this is different. So for anybody who's managed in the past, this is the bit that's new for PEACEPLUS. It's your other timeline there. Again, lingering on the monitoring slide because it's hugely important, and you know it's as important as your cost. You'll know this anyway. So Ciara had also mentioned about the results indicators, which is again slightly different this time. We'll be reporting everything. So, and then we'll measure on that and the activity and track the progress. So if something is happening during the cycle of your project and you see slippages and things that are of concern, speak to your case officer, let them know, so that you know everything is out in the open and it's transparent, and it gives everybody time to assess what's happening in real terms. And the evaluation, which again is really important in terms of the impact and what we're doing, what we're delivering, all of us. So. And so I just wanted to recap then on some of the points, which are not all of them, but so engage with your case officer. So communication comes out everywhere. So if you have a good relationship and you are actively engaging and reporting as you progress, it will stand you in good stead. So good communication, and ask for guidance if you're unsure. At any point over the span of the years ahead, just continue to ask for guidance. And if something changes, just don't be afraid to say it. Do you know, it's better to get everything out in the open when it happens, rather than maybe worrying about something that has changed and not mentioning it until it's too late. So again, back to communication. If anything changes in your project, let us know. Let your case officer know. Another really important point, not to scare anybody, but corrective actions will be your responsibility as the lead partner. So we are here to give you guidance. We're here to provide you with training. We will support you every way that we can, but you are the responsible lead partner. So if something is incorrect and you know it needs to be fixed, it's your responsibility to do that. So it falls back on you, which is why every single detail is so important. Every output, every result, every cost you report, everything you procure, it comes back to you at the end of the day. So just, it's worth taking the time. Actually, naturally coming into the programme manual, because at almost every slide that we heard today, the programme manual was mentioned, every other slide. And it's really, really important that you revisit it, and also revisit your application form, because refreshing and rereading, even for the people who are, you know, the different roles and responsibilities within your project, just to remember and refresh. You could write that in as a little, you know, quarterly update or just a refresh. So I'd say that's really, really important. There's lots of fact sheets at the back of the programme manual. You'll have seen them mentioned when we talked about costs. Super important, so keep an eye on those. We talked about managing your project outputs and objectives, and just have practical measures in place to monitor your risk and allocate responsibility in your team. So I know a lot of people in the room have delivered successfully and know these processes really, really well, but it doesn't do any harm just to keep refreshing on changes. If regulations change, we'll let you know, but these are the rules, and just try and keep on top of them. As I said to you, we are going to have the webinars. Okay, so those webinars will be rolling out potentially the end of November, December and January, and we will give you more information and tangible dates in those. what we want is to go through your feedback today so that we can incorporate it into what we do next, and make sure that we're getting everything back to yourselves that will be of the most help and the most benefit to you. So that's kind of really the summary of today. We do have, as I say, a few one-to-one sessions, and we're probably ahead of time. So we're going to be in this room for another half an hour. So please take it as an opportunity. If you have mobile phones, you can go in and you can use the link and actually find out where the programme manual is. If you haven't done that already, I would suggest it would be an idea to go in and find it on the SEUPB website. So then you can have a look and see where all this information fits in, and particularly if you're searching for costs or procurement thresholds or outputs. And then, of course, as well, remembering about the calls. So also on the website, you'll see information that will give you all the details that you had when you were writing your application form. So the things that you needed to be aware of that was part of your application, that was relevant to your calls. So remember to look at those as well. They're all there. They're on the website and easily and readily available. So we're here for, we can't have lunch. We're not ready. We're not ready for it, so we're here. So why don't we just use this time to reflect and gather your questions, chat with the people around the room. Also, if you've got any tips or any best practice that you can share with us, please also write them down, because we want to share that with everybody else as well. And we just want to get to the best that we can be in delivering PEACEPLUS. So thank you so much for your time today. As I say, food is probably about 1:45.